Hi, I'm Gavin Glixman. I'm here with Ian Wright today. And where have you brought me today, Wrighty?
I brought you to the Mayfair Hotel, my room at the Mayfair, Gav, because you're my friend.
Righty, Chelsea, only English team through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. What did you make of the game, seeing them win 4-1 at Stamford Bridge?
Fantastic game. I thought the boys really performed. You know, a lot of people on the Twitter were saying, "Oh, why didn't they perform for AVB like that before?" For whatever reason, you know, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but I got to say, Napoli and the way they counter-attack and the way they played and the way they beat Chelsea over there, I couldn't see that result coming, and I have to say, I take my hat off to Chelsea. I thought the boys played well. I thought Drogba was kind of very Drogba-ish, really up for it, and you know what I mean? I think over the years you'd like to see him, over the last 18 months I should say, you'd have liked to see him play in that same mode. I think Chelsea wouldn't be in the position they're in now, but you know, it was a performance for me that was like, I don't know, one of those performances where, like I said, I didn't see it coming. I just didn't see it coming. I thought like they would be able to score. Chelsea, I didn't think they'd score that many, and I didn't think Napoli would capitulate like they did. I thought they still played well up front. Cavani were like, but that guy they got, Aronica, he's a terrible defender, really bad defender. And if the referee and the assistant linesman on the goal line had seen certain things, I think Chelsea could have got another penalty last night.
What do you think Roberto Di Matteo has done differently since he took over from Villas-Boas? Is it just a case of motivation?
Well, you know what it is, Gav. It's just I just think the boys just weren't happy with the manager. They just couldn't play for him. They couldn't find that performance in him to get it out for him. Now I don't know if it was the enormity of the game and the fact that Chelsea, everybody's looking in at them, and the senior players were under a lot of scrutiny, and you could see that with Didier Drogba's interview. He's talking about that everybody's saying that when it's going well, everybody's saying, "Oh, great," with the senior players, and when it's going bad, they're saying it's the senior players' fault. So I think they had a lot to prove last night, and for some reason they couldn't find a performance like that under AVB, and I really only the guys at Chelsea, inside Chelsea, will be able to tell you why they couldn't do that. But it was an unbelievable performance from them to a man. It was unbelievable.
Do you think maybe though that it's just a one-off performance, or will they be able to do that in the next round?
Well, I think that it's one of those, like with Chelsea, like I've been saying all season, it doesn't matter what Villas-Boas is done in respects of, oh, the squad's aging and this and that. That squad is more than good enough to be in the top three, easily. And, you know, I'm thinking with Villas-Boas being this great coach that he was going to be, because he's come over at 33 with a lot of, what can I say, the reputation, big reputation. And I thought I was going to see something. I didn't see anything. I didn't even see a lot of motivation. You know, all you saw was a lot of bickering and things coming out of the squad and that. And so for them to find a performance like that, obviously Roberto Di Matteo, what he's done is he's obviously opened it up. You see John Terry on the line there with Di Matteo shouting things as well, this and that. He's obviously brought the experienced players in and around closer, giving them more of a vocal kind of voice. And you found that wasn't happening with AVB. It's kind of like he was the boss and what he said goes, and that can put people's noses out of joint. It looks to me like Di Matteo's come in and he's opened it up, and everybody's responded, and you know what I mean. It was a great performance.
When John Terry was substituted, as you've said, he was obviously on the bench behind Di Matteo. He was very vocal. A lot of people have jumped on that and said it shows that John Terry's running that football club. What do you make of that?
I think, you know, it's just it's just the whispers, isn't it? It's just the rumours, and it just keeps it all focal point on Chelsea and what's going on there now. John Terry's running things. Like the press conference he had the other day, they were saying that Di Matteo was sitting there like a bit part, and they was asking John Terry all the questions. Well, John Terry hasn't done any interviews since everything's happened with him. He hasn't done anything. Chelsea are in the mire in respect to what's going on. Are they going to qualify for the Champions League next season? If you're going to sit there with John Terry and you've got the interim manager sitting next to him, who are you going to ask the questions to? You're going to ask John Terry the questions. So for them to make something out of that, it's a bit unfair to Di Matteo, and it's a bit unfair to John Terry, because I do feel, excuse me, with his interviews, he always really talks pretty well. You know what I mean? He's always very pro-Chelsea, which is going to be an obvious thing. But he always sounds pretty good. And the same with, like I say, him being on the line. You know what I mean? He's got a role like that to play. You know what I mean? They've offered something like that to Stevie Gerrard at Liverpool when he leaves. I'm sure that it's something that, depending on who the manager's going to be, John Terry is Chelsea through and through. And you could see that last night when him being on the line behind Di Matteo. You never saw that once with AVB. And I think that if AVB maybe took that on board a bit and got someone like John Terry more on his side, and the Frank Lampards and the bigger and the experienced guys more on his side, I think you would have got those performances because the guys would have responded and played for him. Now, Di Matteo's most probably seen something, and he's got that done, and we saw it last night.
Just finally on Chelsea, looking at the managerial picture, is Di Matteo good enough to get that job?
I think that when you come in and you have a couple of games and you do what Chelsea is supposed to be doing at this stage of the season, winning games with the squad they've got, the 3 games what Chelsea have won, apart from last night's one, the Napoli game, I should say, you'd say that was the one they might have struggled in, but they breezed it. And he hasn't really done, for me, as much as I like him, he's a mate and everything, he's done what I think that Chelsea should be doing at this stage of the season anyway. It's unlucky if AVB didn't do it, but I think that over a longer period of time, it just remains to be seen whether he would be able to sustain that kind of performance from the guys, and from Abramovich upstairs. Would he be happy with someone like Roberto Di Matteo? He signs him for 2-3 years maybe, and then a top coach from around the world comes available, and he might think, oh, I wish I had him, and then bang, you just don't know what's going to happen. But he's got Premiership experience, but whether he's got the experience to manage a club of Chelsea's stature, Roberto, is a choice that I think Abramovich is going to have to make. And you can only get the experience by doing it. He gave a 33-year-old a job with no experience, so why not give it to Roberto Di Matteo if he does well to the end of the season? Suppose he wins the FA Cup and they qualify, keep going in the Champions League. You know what I mean? Why not?